Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to do something special. I mentioned in my last week in games that I was not, I'd always done a top games of 2020 something other, but then I never published them. And then I realized I was just going about it the wrong way. The revelation came to me this week looking at some other award type of things that have come up, and I'm like, I'm thinking of it wrong. I'm going the wrong way. And so one of the things I realized was that as I was doing these lists in the past, I'm no critic, though I do hold myself accountable to what appear to be a silly set of constraints. For example, I play the games that I review or rank. And also I know the games that are out there so that even if I haven't played them, I'm at least more uh, aware of the domain, and then third, I tended to only speak authoritatively on what I had sufficient knowledge of, um, and I realized that's just silly. I mean, that's just wrong. I Someone asked me once to name the top five cars that have ever been made, and I'm like, that's easy because I've already had owned four cars in my life, and so there's this car and that car and that car and that car, and I just needed to go kind of maybe ask around for that fifth one because I didn't need to know all the cars that are out there. I didn't need to know anything about them at all. I just needed to know what I was familiar with, and then of course the authoritative top five best cars of all time would just come flowing out of my mouth. I'm kidding, tongue in cheek here. Nevertheless, I'm going to throw all those constraints away, and I'm going to give you the best top games of 2024 that you probably have never needed. And so, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, what was the best two-player game of 2024? And that has to be, without fail, The Gang. The Gang is an excellent two-player game. Now you're asking why? What makes it excellent? Well, because it's not a two-player game; it's a 3 to 5 player game, and that brings opportunity that you never realized you needed. Because in order to play it, you're going to have to make a new friend. So you and someone else that you spend time with can just go find that third friend, and then you're going to have what it takes to be able to play the game. And honestly, what a better impetus of a game for 2 players than to have a game that requires you to have 3 players. So, 2-player game of the year goes to The Gang. Next, we have best artwork and presentation. This was a tricky category, and I wasn't entirely certain how well I'd master it. But then it dawned on me I didn't need to worry about that. I needed to think outside of the proverbial blocks. And so my award for best artwork and presentation is Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, you might be thinking, and I'm sure there's some naysayers out there going, hey, first off, 2024. And I'm like, well, sure, the game doesn't come out till 2026, whatever. And also, it's not a board game. But that should not limit it. It's not for us to decide that. It's for it to just imbue upon us what's in our mind as the best artwork and presentation. After all, one of the biggest bummers is that when you have an idea in your mind and you map it out to reality and it's just not the same. Well, this is beautiful. You can have the best board game artwork and presentation be Grand Theft Auto 6 in your mind. See? Win-win. Everybody wins. Next, we have the best cooperative game, and that could only be Diplomacy, which didn't come out in 2024, but I played it, so it counts, right? This is literally at some point in the game, you have to be everybody's friend or somebody's friend or group up with friends. They say it's a relationship killer, but what it is a relationship revealer. Really, just true, transparent understanding of who is and who is not your friend. That's really no better praise to the game. Now, next category, it's best print and play game. And of course, I thought about it, and then it came to me without even thinking about it twice, and that is fit to print. Why? Because it says so right on the box. I mean, I'm not sure that there could be any controversy about this. It's truth in advertising. Speaking of truth in advertising, what is the best innovative game? I have to go with innovation. Seriously, it again, it's like the most obvious category award too. Why not give it to that? Then we get to the best party game, and this will be Rise and Fall from Ludically, because you literally would have to send out a full search party to find a copy of this game right now. I have had 10 times as many requests to buy my copy from people on Board Game Geek and abroad as any other game I've ever owned. Also, to find support from the publisher of any kind for all the mistakes they made during the Kickstarter and beyond, you would probably have to spend out a full search party and some canine dogs. So there we go. Next category is the best board game expansion, and I'm going to go with Rome Total War. Now, some in the past, usually the expectation is you want an expansion to be something that expands a given board game. They were so ahead of the curve on this one. They didn't even bother with the core game. They just, instead of expanding a game, this Kickstarter expanded the entire audience of the game into multiple tribal rules fixing groups that were trying to find out what the rules of this game were from the pieces that were put out piecemeal. Lots of firefighting as the loss of the official website comes down, and people creating Discord channels to groupthink a rule set that actually made sense. And generally, it expanded the audience to make what is one of the best memorable dumpster fire games that I got this year. Good going, guys. So we can't best expansion, bar none. Now, what is the best solo game? We're going to go with Rock Hard 1977 because playing a solo in this game is the most natural action that you can take. Can't ask for better than that. Now, the best thematic game for 2024 is a picture here of thematic I used to clear out 3/4 of an acre of blackberry vines in 2024. True story. I also used it to smash a game to bits, Space Mountain, and then used the pokey end to stoke the fire as I burned that hideous and insulting game. Cool. Win-win. Next we have, and we're going to get a little deeper, we're going to get the best war game. War games are kind of a niche, and in a lot of places, they just kind of water down what is a war game. There's discussion, whatever, and they get these rules like you should have something related to war in some fashion. People, but I had to go with the game that I think you'll all agree with, the best board game of this year for wargaming, Burger Slam. This is a clever, you might not catch it at first, but it's a clever take on notorious Hamburger Hill engagement that occurred in Vietnam, a watershed moment. Now, while the game itself and the artwork gives the impression, for purposes of kind of easing the tension of people unfamiliar with that terrible engagement, that it's all about making burgers and stuff, but I'm not fooled, because there's depth here. There's layers and layers, feints and trickery, timing, like giving and taking of oh my gosh, just the vivid realization. It's like role playing a war game, and it betrays its deeper significance as a stellar foray into a less represented battle. Yes. So war game of the year, Burger Slam. And now we get into best podcast. And for that, I'm going to have to give a nod to Andromeda's Edge. Now, podcasts to me are kind of like radio on the way to work and back, and sports broadcasting and Twitch streaming. No one really cares what people are saying. They just care that someone's saying something and filling in the dead space with noise. And that's kind of how I review it. And so Andromeda's Edge gets the edge because whenever I get that feel like it's too quiet in here, I grab that box, I lift it up, and you can just hear this whooshing noise coming out. Up it goes. And then you got the crinkly of the trays, and they squeak when you're putting the lids on and you're putting it back down. Then you're putting it down again, and you get this noise. Yeah, you feel the sense of being informed that few other games can match. So podcast of the year, definitely Andromeda's Edge. And now we're getting into the final three categories. We have light game of the year, which is meant to be just a great onboarding experience for people, a way that you can just casually introduce games, and that has got to be Next War Iran. This is so much lighter than all the other entries in the Next War series because of its contemporary setting. We have so much available and fully trustworthy information now available on the internet at all times for all engagements that it makes perfect sense to just throw this out at a guac and roll party and know that you're just going to have people playing an instance knowing fully and completely everything that's going on. Yes, got to go with it. Now next, we have the medium game of the year. A lot of people don't understand that medium game of the year is not what you first think it is. Most people think it's a game that's not too light, not too heavy. That's not what a medium game of the year is. A medium game of the year, imagine this. You sit down with a group of people to eat steak at a steakhouse. Someone's going to order medium rare. All of the people that don't usually order it that rare are going to feel self-conscious because there's going to be some debate over what really makes a steak great and what ruins it. And so you got that. On the other hand, you got people who are unabashedly going to order medium well, and then they're going to like incur the side eye rage of the medium rare folks who understand that true meat does not brown in that degree, and so they'll be angry and they'll be taking each bite of their red dye number natural bite with angst in their heart. A medium is someone who orders right in the middle, and it's great and not great because it basically satisfies no one but is begrudgingly tolerated by everyone. And that's the kind of game that a medium game of the year is. And we have to go with Lands of the Mesozoic. Now, Lands of the Mesozoic it's a game that I have played with people who love dinosaurs, who like dinosaurs, who are okay with dinosaurs, and they end the game going, that was okay. And then I ask them, do you want to play again? No, I'm good. I'm good. There's your medium game of the year. It just fell into my lap, people. And finally, we have the heavy game of the year. This is the game that really taxes the brain. Usually, Tool is doing the artwork, and someone deep and sinister is doing the calculations underneath. And this year was no exception. The award for heavy game of the year is Flip 7. Why are you asking? Again, just because it's available at Target doesn't mean that you're going to judge it based on that. When you realize one time about 15 years ago, one of my boss did a huge post on Board Game Beef about Harkazone at its heart was a war game and made some very compelling arguments. And now I realize, shoot, this is a mortar shell. Flip 7 really delves deep into the abstract understanding of a conflict. The cards themselves are terrain as you're laying them out. You've got risk, you've got reward. How far into territory do you go before you risk exposing yourself to methods you've tried before that are now no longer valid? I mean, someone has to know math to play this game. Someone else has to take notes. Almost accounting level nightmare, QuickBooks level notes, and were it not for that, and then the sheer joy of conquering the other contenders. There's always a give and take. The 7 in Flip 7 is often misunderstood. It's actually the complexity on a scale of 1 to 5. And so we have to go with Flip 7 for Heavy Game of the Year. And that's it. That is my 2024 awards for those of you who might be interested now that my eyes have opened. Thanks again. And to be honest, we're doing some tongue-in-cheek here, but ultimately speaking, it's all fun and meant to be taken with a grain of salt. I have the idea that any awards where you basically ask for people to vote en masse is not about the quality as much as it's about the popularity. And in that light, you can have fun with that and just enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed this tongue-in-cheek little example. We all have our best games and whatever. And I'm looking forward to getting to one I've gotten on the table now, Fields of Fire. So I got work to do. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.